to the place where danger waits, and it's bound to forsake me. So stupid minded, but
So let it be written, so let it be done.
Welcome to the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast. Tonight, we're going to have a very special interview that's grown man conversation, a grown hip hop conversation. First and foremost, before we start anything, thank you for joining. Hit the like button, comment, and share. We want everybody to see this interview. I want to make sure it hits the algorithm. We need to do something with that algorithm. Shout out to everybody in the chat already. All right. Yeah, we may talk about that. But at the end of the day, we gonna talk about some hip hop. We are more than music when it comes to heritage hip hop. We introduce you to your future favorite artist today. And today I have an artist that brings a different vocabulary to the culture. And also we're gonna talk about growth and what it means to be hip hop. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a new voice that you may or may not have heard before. I want to introduce you to Tre-Dot. What's going on, fam?
Hey, what's happening, man? What's happening?
Hey man, I'm okay. How you doing today?
Hey, everything is good. I'm blessed, man. Blessed to still be around, breathing and healthy and feeling good.
Yeah, man. In a world where not only the vocabulary changes day by day, the quality of life changes day by day, it's very essential for us to check on each other and make sure we're good.
Yes, indeed. I agree.
So let's get into you in hip hop. Tell us about yourself, where you from, and how your journey in hip hop started.
I mean, born and raised in New York City, so hip hop was everywhere. When LL first got started, I was out there hooping in the streets, back with the boom boxes and hearing the studio sessions on the block with the muffled cassette tapes, but it was still hip hop. The free parties at like Baisley Park and seeing Rakim and all of them perform when I was a young teenager. And back then I used to write, but I kept it to myself for the most part. I'm gonna leave out a lot of the small basics. I ended up moving to North Carolina to finish high school. My mother had a serious car accident, man. So my father just, relocated us to where he's from, because they from North Carolina. So I kind of been around here since then, man. Went to college here, lived in Maryland for a while as an adult. But my introduction to hip hop was just young, growing up in New York, man. And then there was a period of time in high school where one of my cousins that I didn't know was my cousin was a DJ. And he was kind of nice with it, which blew my mind because I didn't understand how somebody so far in the South could be that good as a DJ. But he actually locked in that room and did that every day. So from then on, so when I really got started developing my style. And then in college, hip hop in all colleges is big with college radio and all that, man. Just kept it going. And as I got older, started back doing it again, man, because I love hip hop, man. I got a lot of things on my mind to talk about. And I knew the kind of music that I like. So that was my goal, to give that. And whenever you like something, bro, you ain't the only person out here that like it, man. So, when you're a creative person, you put your stuff out there, man. And if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, at least you put it out there, and you stay true to yourself. You won't know unless you do it. So that's where I'm at with hip hop now. So I came from the regular hip hop, just rhyming, bars, battling, beatbox, breakdancing. And now you get to this point where they want to call it adult contemporary, or they want to call it traditional, or they want to call it boom bap, but it's still hip hop.
Yeah, you're going a little too fast. Let's peel back that onion a little bit. I want to know more about the origin with you. So you said when LL was first coming out, you was already a teenager, and you got the experience. You didn't talk about the birth of hip hop as we agreed to it. You talking about the experience of seeing hip hop grow while you were growing as well.
Yeah.
Did you have a culture shock with moving to North Carolina, being from New York, and seeing how hip hop was accepted or understood in both territories?
Well, my move to North Carolina was bad, man, 'cause I never really adjusted, really, ever. You know what I mean? So I had to deal with high school, being put out of high school, having to go to night school and all that kind of stuff, man. Because back then, it wasn't really a smooth transition coming from New York to North Carolina. It wasn't really that smooth. Because back then, people expect you to be one way, and if you're not that way, you got opposition, and it's like you against the world kind of thing. And I probably could have adapted a little bit better myself, but New York is a very closed environment. I was a very enclosed person, and I like my privacy. In New York, everybody keeps to themselves. The South, it was more of everybody speaking to each other, and 50 people on the school bus is only supposed to hold 35 and shit like that. The cultures is just different. New York is every man for himself. So my, depression and hatred of being away from New York, that's when I really started writing heavy. Even though I was going back to New York like every 2 months for 3, 4 days at a time or whatever, it's not the same as living there. So how I dealt with that transition internally was I used to write. I used to write all day.
Hip hop is the greatest mental health tool that we've had for black men in this country ever. We could always say that, gospel music, dance and everything has always been there, but hip hop culture gave people not only education, self-expression, it gave them jobs, and it gave people who felt like they didn't have a voice purpose to speak. What was the most important message hip hop gave you about yourself? And what is the most important message you gave to somebody else since you started writing?
Well, for me, myself, I would just look at even teachings of KRS-One and Chuck D. I say teachings because that's what inspired me to read about my culture. That's what inspired me to read more about myself. That's what inspired me to be just creative. And with music myself, I would say just doing interviews like these, man, I get messages all the time from people that might see a clip that I clip and say just regular conversation. Because, at my age range, a lot of us have a lot of stuff we want to talk about, but we never talk about it, whether we don't have the circle to talk about it with, or maybe we just don't know how to bring it up, or maybe we don't know how to receive it. Like with these interviews, a lot of conversations, like a person like, myself and you, a lot of people never had these conversations with anybody before, but they can relate to the topics, and one of us might say something to spark something. So on a regular, I get messages like that from interviews, or if not from just a record. Like one of my songs, "Only You," I'm talking about, being in love and trying to deal with being in love while overcoming depression and wondering, am I good enough, or am I good enough for this, or just questioning myself all the time. I get messages off of that as well. So I enjoy it though. I enjoy it, man. I enjoy it.
Hip hop came out of depression though. Like
Yeah,
it
it
wasn't
has.
the cause of hip hop. It was one of the things that sparked the evolution that made hip hop get big. And the reason why I bring that up is because with we came out of mental health month a couple of months ago. And with hip hop, we don't give hip hop its credit because depression is one of the main staples of what being a black man is all about, unfortunately, in this country. Whether you when you're born and you become a child and you're looking at the world, in our generation and the generations before us, we didn't see ourselves. We saw what we wanted to be. Where now children get to see themselves. Because we didn't have representation of us on TV as superheroes and athletes that are rich and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
We saw our community, and then that was apart from what the world was. So thank God for hip hop that now a man can pick up a pen and a pad or rip up some jeans and express either his anger or his desire to be seen rather than being spooked by the door. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I want to ask you this question. When you started writing, how did you first get seen by the outsiders as a rhymer? How did it help you come out of that isolated box you put yourself in?
Um, my first, I say, taste of really being heard was when I went to college. I went to a small HBCU, St. Augustine's College in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I started getting airplay on the college station. The most popular college station at the time was NC State. So that was my introduction to people hearing me on a grander scale. And the song, it did pretty well, and I ended up building a relationship with the station. And got featured in a few magazines on some unsigned stuff, and from there, you kind of develop a style. I was rhyming with another person at the time, and then started by myself. That's how my style got developed, man. You just trial and error, man, and doing a whole lot of tapes in the basement that nobody hears, but finally getting on college radio, that's when things kind of made a difference. And then a magazine called Rap Sheet. I don't know if you remember some of the older magazines. I was in Rap Sheet. I was in Rap Pages one time. Stuff like that meant a lot to me because I'm a big magazine guy. Like I'm a big hip hop guy. Like I do one form of hip hop in some people's mind, but that don't mean I don't like this form of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? I just like the whole all encompassing of just soulful music, period, to be honest with you. So that magazine footage, and I went to a Rap Sheet conference. That's another thing that really touched me as an artist because I got to meet Chuck D, and he actually took the time and talked to people, about coming up as an artist. And Buckshot from Black Moon was there as well, was sitting there and having those kind of conversations. And I always loved intellectual conversations, man. And we were able just to sit there and build with people that made it, that came from our environments, and that was major. And something that came to mind was something you said earlier, growing up in New York, just seeing people like LL Cool J that I used to see at the ice cream truck get to where he's at now. And then I went to high school with Fredro, so that's a friend of mine, and I watched him succeed. I watched him get into movies, and whenever he's in town, I always see him. We talk for a few minutes, and I let him move on. But I watched him grow. I watched his pitfalls and him overcome that. Like a lot of people never, and it's not even about hip hop or being rich, but a lot of people have never seen people overcome adversity and become successful. Some people never saw it. And to be able to see that shit firsthand, it's just powerful. And I'm sure you understand that. It's just powerful.
It's very powerful. It's so powerful that we're gonna go to a certain part of the show called Stand on Your Square. And Stand on Your Square is where the artist says something that's so profound that we have to stop the interview and really focus on something that he said or that the guest says that really was very rich in information. Hip hop has a very critical line in there that says it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And something that you said made me think of something very, very interesting. You're from New York and was a transplant to North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
As you were going through your formative years in North Carolina, what did it mean for you to see the artists from New York come to where you had to perform? And did that help the crowd understand you when you got to see a taste of home in your new land?
Back then, I would say, yeah, it felt great to see, artists that would come down here. You know what I mean? That I could see away from home. Yeah, it was great. It was great to see people accept their expression. Like when Onyx came down, I mean, they used to tear shows down. We're talking about when Onyx was really popular, like 93, 90, 93, 94. I mean, they used to tear the shows down. I mean, they would always be within the crowd after the show. It was always love. So it was a great feeling to see Queens come down here and represent like that, most definitely, and to see the crowd receive them. And after that, sometimes you get treated differently because they realize you're from the same place this person was. And it kind of closes the generational divide somewhat. You know what I mean? And it gives you an understand. Like even me being from New York, hearing hip hop artists from, let's say, from Texas and places like that I've never been. Then when I meet people from there, I kind of have a better understanding of them. And hip hop did bridge that gap back then. Now I don't know as much because I don't really keep up with a lot of the younger generation stuff they're doing. But back then, that drew us closer. Like if I knew you were from Jersey, I'm thinking Naughty by Nature. I'm like, okay, this guy here. Or if you're talking about Oakland, I'm thinking E40. I'm thinking Too Short. You talking about LA, I'm thinking Compton, I'm thinking Dre, I'm thinking DJ Quick, I'm thinking Cube and all of them, and it just gave us a better understanding. And you said it earlier, hip hop has been very powerful to all of us as far as our development from young men to men. And I don't think we even realize it in our mind consciously, the great effects it has. See, the media only wants to talk about the damage and stuff, man, but there's been some great things that's happened. Definitely in my upbringing, there's some great things that happened that I realize, and I'll never underestimate or downplay.
See how we figured out he was from Queens, y'all? I don't know if y'all picked up on that. But you know what? That's profound that you say that because people in this country think all black folks are the same, and we're really not. Because I believe personally, this is my personal belief. America is not a country. America is many countries under a union that says it's a country. Because North Carolina is not the same as New York, it's not the same as New Jersey, it's not the same as Cali, not the same as Las Vegas, not the same as North Dakota, South Dakota, or whatever. And even though you do share the same complexion, the cost of living and the understanding of life is different.
Yeah.
And what you said was true. You get a better understanding of people by the music that talks about their area or their environment. Here's something I want you to tell me from your understanding of hip hop, especially in your life experience. How does hip hop unite us even though we're different? And how is hip hop a singular voice for us even though we all don't live the same language?
Well, the rhythms will always be hypnotic. You know what I mean? The rhythms a lot of times are the first thing that brings you in, whether it's the beat of the drum, whether it's the live instrumentation. Like a person like Scarface was always so cinematic. So it's like you getting started with a movie and, you just get reeled in. Once you reel a person in, your words are going to resonate, especially if it's something that comes from the heart. I think it's something as a culture, I think a lot of us can almost read when a person is coming from the heart or if a person is just a fraud. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get misled, but a lot of times you can almost hear a song and see the person and talk to the person like what you're doing. You can interview a person a lot of times. You can probably tell this person ain't genuine. You're a clown. But you finish the show because that's what you're doing. So I think hip hop always gave us that. Like KRS-One, we always look at as a straight up guy. You know what I mean? You can hear him, you hear what he's saying. Common, you look at as a straight up guy. You got a certain sound he gives to give you to understand certain things. Redman just, he got a certain flow he gonna give you. He's having fun. He's smoking his weed, and it always connected us because I honestly, and this might be off topic, but I don't think it is. I think we're more receptive of information than people give us credit for. I think we really want to hear people say good shit. So I guess you know what I'm saying. We want to hear people say that shit. You want to hear a record that attached to my name that makes sense and you hearing something. Whether it makes you go, ooh, or makes you think, or makes you be like, ooh, that was hard. Whatever it is. We want that. That's what hip hop has always gave us. It gave us a voice, it gave us something to hear that connected with us. I remember the first time I heard Sucker MCs, it was like just mind blowing to me. Because it just reminded me of Queens where I was at. And he also mentioned St. John's University and all of that. So hip hop was always able to get message towards us, man. So if we had more positive message within the music, we can reach a lot more people with that too. No different from when I was younger, and I'm sure even when you was younger. A lot of those messages resonate to this day. But the media is not on our side to touch our communities anyway. So we really can't expect the media to play a part of that or the radio stations to play a part of that because they ain't business to make money.
Besides making the money, though, hip hop also makes us understand us. And I believe, pardon me, I believe you have 12 years to develop your musical ear. Because in those formative 12 years, that's when you start becoming your own individual person. Let me explain. I don't want to be longer, but let me explain. Life is a sequences of five. Birth to five, new. 5 to 10, you're aware. 10 to 15, you start noticing others. 15 to 20, you start noticing that the world is in your control. 20 to 25, it's like, okay, you want to bring the world under your control. 25 to 30, you start to realize there's a bigger world and you got to want to fit in. And from 30 on, those fives are all about your purpose and how you live it out. In those fives, you have a sequence of 12 years. Some people is middle school, high school, and college that they hear something and they start forming their identity and they start forming their understanding of self around what they're hearing. With the music that you have experienced, the music that you hear, and the music that you create, how has your experience led to your voice being given to the world so they can find their experience and their identity through your sound?
Well, best example I can give, I got 3 EPs that's coming out in September, and each one of them is a different train of thought. Like Blood, Sweat, and Tears is just like the view of a adult male over 40 and how he deals with life and his transitions and taking care of families and maintaining and how you work through those. And, the Love Makes a Difference EP is about being in love and not knowing what love really is, not knowing myself yet, but no, I love this woman and this is something I definitely want to build from. But how do I get there? And how do I stay there when I get there? And how do I maintain when I do get there? And how do I recognize I'm there when I don't even know what there looks like? So that EP is about that. Then I have another EP called Soul Trade, which is just like some Southern soul hip hop, just having fun, feeling like you at a cookout with the old head that happened to rhyme and y'all ain't know he can rhyme and we turn the party out kind of thing. So I try to give a piece of me, within every project, man, and that's how I write. Those are the kind of MCs that I always gravitated towards, more so than a person with a lot of the, metaphors and similes, which I like to listen to, but that wasn't really my style and my forte. So I basically put those thought processes in each one of those EPs.
It's good that you don't have that because that's the ultimate gift of hip hop is that hip hop gives a voice to people who didn't even know they had a voice sometimes. Some people like to flip and bounce words and be super rap lyrical, and some people just like to deliver a message. Like one of my greatest examples is the Locks. Jada Kiss will give you something deep lyrical. Styles should give you something deep lyrical, but then it could be plain. And then Sheik just comes straight raw. It ain't super lyrical. It's just the fact that it is what he did and what it is.
Yeah,
And the delivery can be so precise and individualistic that everybody can receive the message as long as their ears are receptive. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, most definitely. Good example. I fuck with the Locks.
True indeed. My thing with hip hop though is that hip hop has so many voices today that now it's oversaturated and the prophecy of hip hop going underground became true. How how is it for you as an artist that now that the money's not being ciphered into hip hop, that that now you have to put it into yourself and to try to be seen in a world that's so polluted with somebody and everybody having a voice? How does that affect you?
Well, one, I'll say before I say how it affects me, my biggest thing is I think my generation has failed in a lot of ways because a lot of these artists that are doing this music that a lot of us are against as far as uplifting the culture, those are our children. And we have a lot of children out here that wasn't raised, that wasn't mentored, and then we have what we have now as far as diluting of a culture. But for me, I just take it as a bigger challenge. It's harder to get heard on a major scale. That's why it makes shows like yours necessary. You know what I mean? You got to do more networking. I answer all my messages. I try to connect with everyone. We have to create our own culture within the culture. Not just me, just any form of hip hop that we feel is uplifting and inspiring. We have to support it in some kind of way. I mean, the smallest thing, whether it's a reshare, a comment, like, or subscribe. I mean, we got to get it from the underground back up. That's just what it is. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to talk about it. A lot of older artists with a more mature sound quit the game because they see what these young people are making, and some jealousy there, some hatred, some frustration. But we're not really doing a good job of still putting quality material out there consistently. That would offset it some. And yeah, it'll take time. Nothing happens overnight. Hip hop didn't get to what it is now overnight either. It was a gradual change. And whenever we get a label that's popping, the first thing we do is we sell it to them anyway. And then they turn it into something else. Then that takes away from the quality of music being done. Hip hop has always had a wide range of music. Like, it's just now there's no balance. You know what I mean? And we can't act like we didn't see it coming. I mean, I said years ago about EPs. I suggested that older artists should be doing EPs because you're giving people 5, 6 songs at a time. Then you can give them again, and then you can keep a consistency going. You're giving people these 18-song albums, and nobody's really listening to 18 songs, bro. You're getting so much music every day, every day. And then you're hitting them with these big 18-song albums where they might not get past track 5. I never thought that was beneficial to, especially this form of hip hop that we're discussing. People just got to get out there. They got to do the shows. They got to get out here, do shows on their own, even if it's only for like 40, 50 people, and be consistent. You got to sell your own merch again. You got to even sell your own CDs again. That's just where we at right now. If you want to be true to the culture and contribute to the culture, and how I am with it, if you're not contributing to the culture, I'm not the person to talk to if you're going to complain about the culture.
I agree 100% because part of the pillars of hip hop is entrepreneurism. You had to hustle to get known. You had to hustle to be known. And in the beginnings of hip hop, you had to go to the parties and actually pick up the mics with people that you knew that you rock. You
Yeah.
couldn't just be popular in your spot, internet. So I agree with you 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our part of the interview called Stand on Your Square, brought to you by heritagehiphop.com and Tre-Dot. So let me ask you another question that I think is very meaningful because of the example of where you're from and where you said you started from. Hip hop has been under attack recently by itself under its own guise, as well as the world. Hip hop stands for peace, peace, love, unity, having fun, etc., right? And the peace, the unity, and the love have always been under attack. To now, the unity aspect of it is being destroyed. Blacks versus Latinos and all this other stuff. As a New Yorker, and you see in New York, hip hop, maybe not when it started, but in its infancy. How do you feel about these conversations where people say these people started this and these people started that, and the use of it to divide us instead of celebrating our identities and building our nation forward? How does that affect you as an artist?
Honestly, I hate it. I hate anything we do publicly that gives us some level of divide. Because, bro, we sit here and we argue on the internet about stuff that really isn't meaning nothing, man. Now, if you were there and you have a gripe, that's different. I get it. You was there. Maybe something wasn't told properly. But if something wasn't told properly, tell it properly. Or talk to that person that didn't tell it properly, and y'all have that conversation. Because now you have a divide within the culture because everybody has separate information, and then they see you bitter, and then people are taking sides. I mean, growing up in New York, man, everywhere was you had your Latino culture. I mean, back then, all we had was our culture and Latino culture as far as hip hop. It wasn't any other cultures really dealing with hip hop when I was there. But, you know, I seen the debates and who started this, who started that. And, you know, they had the Latino DJs back there, Latino DJs back there, and they had this person back then. They had this one Chinese guy that used to break dance. And just, I don't really think it's necessary, bro. Like, I just really don't, man. We have a beautiful culture. I mean, we know where it started from. You know, some people even want to debate about that. You know, I don't think we have time to waste our time complaining about stuff that's really minor like that, or who hit it first, who did this first, who did that first. More than one person could be great, bro. I appreciate all the greatness within hip hop. I appreciate all the contributions. I mean, some of it is almost like comical to me, bro. Like, if you're a person you never heard of, Kool Herc wasn't the first one to do it. I'm the first one that played that record. I mean, you waited 50 years to say something, though. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
It's mind numbing for sure because we have like Chuck D's movie, The Founding Fathers, who talks about everybody before Kool Herc. And then you have the Tariq Nasheed movie that's about who did what and how people are discounting FBA, African Americans, etc., out of the culture. And the sad part about that is, while we're pointing our fingers at each other, we're not looking at the people pointing their fingers at us to destroy us. And that's the thing that bothers me. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we're going to take a commercial break. We will be back with Tre-Dot, and then we're going to talk about adult contemporary hip hop, and if that is necessary. Stay tuned.
Hey, Redman is in the building, of course. Jersey's finest, all about them bars, marijuana smoker. Hey, PSA announcement. I need everybody go support. That's right, support my fucking state, my city. Heritage Hip Hop, a New Jersey media source that celebrates New Jersey hip hop worldwide. Facts. And we are celebrating our legends right here, Jersey, baby. Please subscribe to Heritage Hip Hop on social media. That is Heritage Hip Hop on social media. Jersey, you know I love you. Jersey, you know we got bars and we got music and we got legends all day. And if you believe in Jersey and you love Jersey like I do, support that Heritage Hip Hop on all social media platforms. This is Redman and I approve this message.
Shout out to the OG Redman for chiming in. I appreciate the shout out. We're here with Tre-Dot. We're going to talk about his music, but most importantly, the concept of adult contemporary hip hop. What is adult contemporary hip hop, and why do you brand yourself with that name? Or tag, what have you been?
Well, I haven't really branded myself with it. You know, when you get in the bios together, the word was used, and it kind of fit at the time. Maybe 5-6 years ago, I had a conversation with Eric Sherman backstage at the History of Rap tour, and we were talking, and he was telling me to always put out music. Like, at the time, I wasn't putting out stuff. I was kind of chilling. He was like, never stop putting away music, and he brought up the adult contemporary conversation like back then. He said he had been talking to people about it, and at one time he was talking about doing his own streaming service. I think when the conversation comes up, I think some people take it as separatism in a way. They take it as if hip hop needs to be just hip hop, but I don't think they're looking at it from the perspective of an artist that says it. Because you look at the Billboard charts, rock has so many different categories, jazz has more than one category. It's just a way for when you have the Grammys, you're mad because Sexy Red won an award instead of Rhapsody, or LL will be in the same category with a Little Yachty or something. I mean, I'm just throwing random names out there. Then giving us different categories will keep us away from that, because hip hop has been going on so long to where you have a lot of MCs that are over the age of 40 that are doing a different brand of hip hop, but it's still hip hop. You know, I'm not against it at all. Now, whether you call it adult contemporary or as some people say traditional hip hop sounds better, I don't know. But even within your show, you know, you can have more itemized of what it is. It's still within the culture. Jazz has easy listening. I mean, rock has soft rock, hard rock. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think people are thinking closed minded when they hear it. You know, and if you're not, and if you do hear everybody's perception and you still feel a certain way, then I respect that, because we don't have to always agree. But I don't think it'll hurt hip hop at all.
No, I'm in, I don't know. I'm middle of the road with it because unfortunately, because hip hop already is generational and bastardized by ageism, it's kind of bad to see another segregation in it, because then it seems like, well, we don't play adult contemporary hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So then that gets, you know what I mean? And
That's
then
that's actually a good argument. That's the other side of it. That's why
yeah,
I say, every way you take, I can't be mad at it because I understand both of them.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
like that conversation you just gave, I can hear somebody saying that we don't play adult contemporary because you've been labeled as that. But there
right.
are no adult contemporary spots unless you just go to Rock the Bells.
It depends on where you live. Yeah, it depends on where you live.
I mean, as far as a major, considered to be a major station. I mean, I can play on a lot of different locations, but it's not a like major outlet
Yeah,
for a whole name.
and that's what I'm saying, because hip hop is already segregated. Even R&B. I heard who was it? Stephanie Mills say
R&B is too. Yeah,
that they want R&B, but they don't want it from us. And then when we hit a certain age, they don't want to hear us singing again. Like I heard Vesta say one time she had a new album out. I was like, Vesta.
yeah.
I was like, I haven't heard Vesta's name in so long, but who knew she kept putting out music? And we didn't know because of her age. She said because of her age, she was blocked. No one,
Now,
she's not sexy, she's mature. So mature doesn't have a lane. And that's what scares me about adult contemporary hip hop, is because if you're labeled mature and the youth always pushes the culture forward, are you going to be labeled as somebody who's just there and you don't have nothing to contribute to the evolution of the culture? I think that's the scariest part of it.
but they have stations that only play mature R&B. You know what I'm saying? There's only a few. Yes, there's only a few. Definitely, there's only a few. But I don't know. Does that actually harm an artist like maybe a Kim or an India Ari that still tours a lot, or Angie Stone? Does it harm them? You believe so? So without that, they might not get played at all.
And that's the catch 22, because at least with that they're getting some type of royalty. But see, when it comes to media, you know the 4 stages of media, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go from print to radio to visual, and I forgot the fourth one, pardon me,
Go ahead. Go
but
ahead. I know
those
you.
are the major three,
Yeah.
right? If you're controlled at the one spot, they could block you from the other spots. So it's dope. Kim Kiss tour. I like my hero in this whole thing is Ryan Leslie. Shout out to him for breaking the matrix, right?
Oh, legend. Come on.
Yeah, but here's the problem: the way
Crazy.
people, everybody can't be Ryan Leslie, and everybody's not gonna have that work ethic.
It might not
So
never.
that's a right. That's a problem. But then there's also back end money that because you're pigeonholed on that one station, you'll never have an opportunity to touch because you're in that station. That's we don't want that because that's not fresh. That's not new, and it already cuts part of your cuts part of your income off because you have that label. Now, am I against adult contemporary as a title? No. Am I for it? No. I just think it's going to take a little more planning. I look at it like gospel hip hop. Gospel hip hop is it's the weirdest part of hip hop in the world because it has good messages. The beats suck. The artist is sometimes good, and the stuff that is actually good, because it's considered just gospel hip hop. Everybody hates God nowadays unless you're able to get high,
Yeah,
have sex, or whatever. It already cuts you off. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah. So it's like, what more can you do to shut us down when we're trying to make our voices be known? You know what I'm saying? What do you say
Well,
to that? How I talk about it?
everything you're saying, like I said, I can't disagree with it because I think older artists might use adult contemporary because they might feel like they have to reach certain people that may be seeking that. But it can also be crippling because it'll put you in a box. That's definitely a conversation. Like, what's the best way to, present yourself when you are that traditional, hip hop artist? Or that's why somebody was saying to me, traditional sounds better than adult contemporary because adult contemporary actually does sound old. I'm actually going to change that in my bio as well. Adult contemporary sounds old. They were like traditional just sounds like it's more cultural to the core of it, and that still can be separative as well. And
Yeah,
even with like, use boom bap, boom bap can separate you because
it's a
people,
style.
yeah, they look at boom bap as a style. I call what I do boom bap soul, but that's just a creative name. Like you got
But
the
it's still
same.
boom bap. So
It's
it's
like
not.
you got the same work in a different capsule. You just change the color of the top.
Hey, I'm with it. Let them get high.
Yeah,
Yeah, should give them the product.
yeah, yeah.
And I
But
like.
honestly, I'm glad the way you explained it that way because that's how I envision the other argument if I came on that side. But you're the first person I heard actually eloquently say that argument because one thing I learned as a child, my mother told me never argue religion and politics. As I got older, I've added hip hop and sports.
Yeah, because you'll never win.
I can debate with you and you don't agree with me, and I'm not gonna get mad. You know what I mean? Unless you disrespect me as a man, I don't have to yell at you and do all that. I want to know what you think because you might make me go back and change my whole direction on my EP. I might have. Oh, how do you think about that? Oh shit. You know what I'm saying? You might have gave me something good. But you can't even, that's a topic that you can look in threads. People are calling each other stupid, you an idiot, just dumb fuck and all that. Now, that's what I hate within our culture. I don't know what other people do, but I know within the hip hop culture, the way we talk to people on the internet within threads is just ridiculous to me.
I agree. I went through the
Nothing
same thing.
is getting across. No point is getting across.
Yeah, I agree. I went through that with somebody. I told them the Biggie Everyday Struggle. Great song to me, right?
It
I
is. It is.
told them, at my stage of life right now, I like the remix better with Nas and Jodeci because I'm more laid back. I'm not as rowdy. I'm more, you know. And a person says you got to be stupid as hell if you think this is better than the other one. I said
That's
I'm stupid for saying this is where I'm at in my life. Okay, great.
yeah.
I'm stupid for living. Didn't
But
know.
that's where I'm at in hip hop as an artist.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? The kind of beats I would want to rock on is the vibe that I feel as a man in my day to day. You know what I'm saying? I love hip hop. I love the hard drums, but I also love things that are melodic.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to tell a story within a rhyme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like to create mood and emotion. I remember when I was young in the game, I heard KRS One speak, and it's something that always stuck in my mind. He was saying how hip hop, really music in general, but we were talking about hip hop. He said hip hop, every song should create mood and emotion. You know what I
Yes.
mean? A lot of people get away from that, and then you just have noise.
Yep.
We're just hypnotized by the rhythms, but within that music, as an artist, you're creating a mood, you're creating an emotion, and you're giving a feel. And that's what hip hop always gave me as a youth. And that's how, I look at it now from a direction of an MC.
Shout out to Master Killer. The deaf and dumb are intrigued by the drum.
That was a
And that
bar.
and that brings me to your music because part of what I've heard from you is very. I could tell you grew a lot in life. because even your vernacular has changed when you rhyme. You know what I'm saying? Let's start from Culture featuring Brian Grinder. And it kind of goes what we were talking about. Because I got from the song No Complaining, Progress Over Problems. And in life, we're gonna always encounter something that we're gonna have to fight. And instead of complaining, how do you build through it? How do you go through it? Tell me about the song Culture and how that came about.
Well, the funny thing about it is, we was just in the studio talking, and my man had a beat playing, and we were having a conversation about hip hop culture. And I said, "Yo, bro, I'm just tired of everybody complaining about the culture. Ain't nobody making no music. Nobody contributes to the culture. They just talking about these young people like they didn't just raise themselves out here in these streets." I said, "If you got a problem with the culture, why don't you put something in your mind? Put something out or whatever." And then in the back of my mind, I was like, "Don't complain about the culture, won't you? Do a little something, make a move." And I just wrote it. And I just wrote the verse and just did it. It happened that fast. Had the verse done in like 15, 20 minutes because it was already on my mind and I was a little frustrated. I got tired of hearing it. Somebody was in the studio with us just talking stupid. You know what I mean? And I was like, nah, I'm tired of hearing this, yo. Like, don't complain about the culture if you're not going to contribute to it. Because a lot of people, and especially if they're in age, they love to complain about shit, man. It's like a waste of time to me, man. It's a waste of time. Especially if you're a
Oh,
listener, I can take it a little bit more. But if you're an artist or a DJ or producer and all you do is complain about the culture and you chose not to contribute anything else to it, I don't have nothing to say to you, bro.
I understand that wholeheartedly because part of the culture that we take for granted is growth. Like
Mm-hmm.
Redman, for instance, he's my favorite artist from hip
Yeah.
hop. And I love how people always say all Redman do is talk about weed. But he has songs about police brutality. Nobody talks about that, right? He has Superman Level, which is the story side. You, or for instance, you have songs that when I say, all right, trade out with the black beard is different than trade out with the white beard. He's a whole different man, yo. Tell me about Yes, Yes, and how that artist has changed. No artist that's rapping on blood, sweat, and tears. I
Oh,
gotta
man,
go.
on that. Well, yes, I was drinking that Hennessy. I was drinking that Absolute. I was running the women. I was sleeping maybe 5 days out of 7. You know what I mean? I was still out there a little bit, man. I was still a little aggressive. Go to the studio drunk, I don't know what I might say. Fun. It was fun. Nobody got hurt. But I was I was at a transition stage at that point. I just didn't make the transition all the way yet. You know what I mean? So in between that time and now, it was kind of a long period where I wasn't putting out any music, but I was still writing in my mind. But I was trying to figure out where I was going because I ended up getting extreme sleep apnea after that. My weight ballooned real heavy, and that was kind of scary. Not breathing in my sleep and all of that, and had a couple DUIs. I didn't have no license for like 15 years, so all of that kind of led to the gray beard activity and just speaking on different topics, man. So that's in a nutshell, just growing up and you see life differently, man. And then you see even within hip hop something that means so much to me. Seeing how that changed and how people are expressing themselves now when you see a void. Because a lot of times when you just coming from the heart, what means something to you, it's a void. Because we're all different. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you might have something special that has a place that might be able to touch people. And I understand where I've been and I understand where I'm at now. And my appreciation for it is, mostly the representation of most of the things I rap about.
I respect that because I'm gonna tell you something. I always say this to people in the conversation, especially in my interviews. Life is a classroom without walls. You only learn something every single day. And pain is universal and love is relative. Some people can relate, but not everybody can understand. But
Yeah,
when you talk about pain, everybody understands pain.
yeah,
And one of the most painful songs you could write is an I Love You song because that's vulnerability.
yeah.
And as men get older, when our vulnerability comes out, that's when we truly start to shine. Because instead of being tough, we really walk in the toughness that God gave us instead of walking in ego, which can destroy what God gave us. Tell me about the song Only You.
Well, Only You was basically, you meet a woman and you finally realize, you met something good for you. And even though you don't understand it, life just keeps showing you signs how good it is for you as far as being a motivator, being inspiration, as well as being a companion. Something that at my age I thought would never be possible. So I know there's a lot of guys my age or my age range that you don't think it's possible to meet a woman that you would consider for a companion, because most relationships have an expiration date. But then, you're getting older. And like when I overcame the sleep apnea and lost the weight and got into fitness and got my mind right, then my surroundings started to be different. I started meeting a better quality of people. I started having a better quality of life. I started thinking clearer. The way I expressed myself was different. Just like on the record, I said, conquer depression and realize it ain't never leaving. So what I'm saying is, even when you conquer depression, it's still there. You just have the tools to navigate around certain things, so you don't fall into those traps anymore. So that's basically where only you came from. Just you fall in love with this woman, but you're still battling depression. You overcame it, but it's still something you have to use those tools to fight through it, because now you have another person that depends on you as well, that you love enough to share something with. But you're no good until you clean yourself out, declutter your own mind, and keep your own clearance free. That's what I was about. So that's why I did the lyric video at a botanical gardens, because I like flowers and shit, and that's where I go sometimes when I'm just reading and writing. I go by the waterfalls, I go by the flowers. That's the gray beard peace of mind type of shit I do.
That's dope, because understanding comes from experience, and you have to live life to get some form of understanding. And the understanding also comes with knowledge and wisdom. And what's that?
No, I said most definitely. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, and I mean, the experience of love is, like I said, you have to be hurt to understand what love is. You know what I'm saying? That pain is universal and love is relative. You have to understand that. And one thing I could tell you is growth is something that comes from the inside too. Bible says there's three heavens. It also says there's three loves. And the love of self is the love that we take for granted more, because we all people will always try to love somebody else, but they always forsake themselves for another person. The you that was rhyming in the song I Smile is totally different from the you that rhymes in the song Love Story. How did that man change? And how did his bars get better?
Well, that was also another transition stage. I did a hip hop soul album with a female singer that like never came out. I threw the whole album on SoundCloud for free though. But at that time, I wanted to be at the level where I'm at now. But I still wasn't, I still wasn't there yet. I was still drinking a little bit, still just living, single life or whatever, trying to figure out things. And we had an idea to do a hip hop soul project. We met this young lady, Camille Collins, that was an amazing singer. Um, we had some internal issues that neither here nor there, but it never came out. So at that point, I was striving to be, where I'm still striving to be at mentally, as far as putting the alcohol behind me, because it wasn't really good for me. My excessive usage of it wasn't good for me. My decision making was still poor. So now, you know, working around a lot of things, have a good support system, doing some things creatively I want to do. I mean, studying to get into the therapy world so I can get into this life coaching thing and assist other people into going through the things I went through and getting to this point that I'm at of growth. So that was. I think I needed that. I needed that era of putting the project together and having some internal difficulties to also do some soul searching for myself. Because I can tell you things that were done within her and I, but there's also some things I could have done better. When I look back on it, from the person I am now, I could have handled a lot of things better at that point. So I needed that growth. I needed that elevation, man. I needed that wisdom that I gained from that situation.
Well, now it's time for you to talk your stuff. It's time for you to tell the world who you are, why they should listen to you, and why your music is important to the hip hop culture. Yeah, 60 seconds. Go.
I'm Tre-Dot, man. A lot of us look in the mirror. We don't like what we see. We want to be a difference. We want to make a difference. I give the kind of music that is that difference, that represents that difference, because love makes a difference. And that's also the name of my clothing brand. Forget the labels. It's just true hip hop from the soul, but I call it boom bap soul.
And with that being said, it's time for us to start wrapping this interview up. How'd you like it so far? We doing good? We good?
Nah, I like it, man. I like your style, man. I like how you move, man. For real.
That's what's up, because we real hip hop over here. So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you bring an artist to heritage hip hop and they don't have good music, it's gonna be hard to get a good conversation. See, he agrees with me. So let's talk some noise right now. We're gonna go into the part of the show called impressions. Impressions is I'm gonna give you a word. You tell me the first word that comes to mind. You ready?
Uh-huh.
Radio.
Suckers never play me. Chuck D.
All right. Manifest.
Guru.
Boom back.
KRS.
Tar Heels.
UNC.
St. John's.
Redman.
Queens.
Southside.
The barbershop.
Talk.
The basketball court.
Hoops.
The cipher.
Boss.
The beat.
Drum.
Last word. The stage.
Stage. Control.
And there you go, everybody. Now you're seeing how the mind of the MC works. So let's get into the rapid fire questions. These are not yes and no questions. These are questions designed to show the world your knowledge of yourself, the hip hop culture, and the hip hop you represent. You ready?
Yeah, most definitely.
What song or album made from another person perfectly describes you?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say Scarface, the Never Seen a Man Die album. I think that's the name of the album.
The Diary.
Diary, yeah.
The Diary. That's a classic. I talk about that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Heritage Hip Hop has an art of storytelling series as well. That's going to be episode after the one that comes out on Monday. Check that out. Never seen a man cry, so that man die. Video. All right. Second question. What is the greatest hip hop beat ever made? Meaning, if that person never had that beat, it would have been your beat and your first single.
Mobb Deep Shook Once.
One or two.
Two.
That's a classic.
Yeah, the
Ladies
beat's
and
great.
gentlemen, that's the Queen's anthem I've been told. You agree?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's the one. Okay. Third question from rapid fire questions. You were around during the Bridge Wars.
Yeah.
What did that do to hip hop? And then what did Nas do to restore Queens in your personal life?
Well, I mean, Nas never really let go of Queens. I mean, Nas has always been like LeBron James kind of thing. You know what I
Mm-hmm,
mean? Going against Jay was the only time it was really a question of
mm-hmm.
Nas. You know, Nas really never had to bring nothing back. I mean, the Bridge Wars, if you mean with like, Shan going at KRS, I don't think anybody took it seriously, bro. Like, people love MC Shan, but him battling KRS, nobody took that seriously, I don't think, man. You know,
That's
and
interesting.
it was really a misunderstanding anyway, because Shan never said hip hop was created in the Bridge.
Yeah. It's funny because Nori asked that question on his show. And everybody was talking about, well, Queens was so down, or Queens was this. And then when Nas came out, everybody pushed their chest up because now they had an identity again. I'm like, that's interesting.
I don't think it was that serious, man. Yeah, it feels bad because KRS One dissed us, and he said a few bad words about us. You know, it hurt your feelings a little bit. But there are people in the hood that take every bar very seriously. They take every interview very seriously. Whatever they read in Source magazine, they take it to heart. They're listening to everything you say, how you say it, the authoritative voice you might have. So KRS One basically said we were suckers, man. I mean, it hurt a little bit because you in the streets. If you ain't in the
Yeah.
streets, you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that didn't really affect me. I mean, do something about it. Nas came out with classic material. That's what you do.
Yeah.
But KRS One loves Nas, though.
Yeah. I got a two-part question for you. We're going to start from the New York aspect. I think Brooklyn took hip hop around the world representing themselves the best, right? And Nas tried to do it with the QB album. But I want to ask you this question. If you had to personify Queens, who would be your three MCs and who would do the beat to make a Queens anthem?
First of all, I think Nature is probably the most underrated MC in Queens ever. Um, Now, if you want to have a joint, with just three MCs, I would take Nas and I would take LL for the nostalgia. And for the third person, Damn. That's rough. For the beat, the production got to come from Queens too. I would say Q-Tip on the beat. Definitely would put Q-Tip on the beat. Nas, LL. Shit, I would put Nature on there, really. I wouldn't even go for the fanfare, what people think is popular. I put Nature on there because I know Nature will kill it.
Okay. So then, same question from North Carolina.
North Carolina's rough, man. Producer, I would say my man Manifest, because Manny's still producing. And that's my guy. I would bring Petey Pablo back, because he had a good run. King Mez rocks with Dr. Dre, so I would put him there. And Rhapsody.
North Carolina had 2 hip hop runs though. And you were there. When did you get to North Carolina? What year around?
Shit. When I first touched down in North Carolina, it was like 86, man.
Okay. So you was there for 3 North Carolina movements.
Yeah.
And the biggest North Carolina movement came in the 2000s, right? That's when the Justice League was really big. Were you into them at all?
Yeah, Knife Wonder, Little Brother.
Yeah. So
yeah, was my guy.
So shout out to the Justice League movement, shout out to Big Doe and all that. My question for you is, as hip hop has had many eras in New York and many identities, what is North Carolina hip hop to you, and what identity does it have moving forward, in your opinion?
Well, I think I appreciate it more now that I'm older and I've kind of met some of these people personally. There's a lot of talent here. First, I'm gonna say that. I'm not just gonna say that because I'm here, but no, there's a lot of talent here. I think it's misunderstood talent. North Carolina is so widespread, everybody's so far away from each other. But I think a guy like Gene Brown does a good job connecting hip hop because he does a lot of the beat downs. And he sells a lot of vinyl. So a lot of these producer battles, a lot of the MCs are in the crowd. I think that's dope for the culture. I think there's a culture here, but it isn't, promoted widespread to where everybody in North Carolina really knows about it. You almost have to be within the crowd to know what's going on. But there's definitely some talent here. I mean, I don't think it really had an official run. They had a couple good runs, but it really didn't have an official run, man. I think Little Brother should have been bigger. I think Josie Mo should have got a little bit more love coming up under them, but Ninth Wonder. The whole squad they had going, man, they had a nice little thing. Ninth Wonder could have been bigger. And then he would have more power to do things. Rhapsody is doing a good job in the game, man. But there's some talent here. I think even Petey Pablo should have been bigger when he had his run. He has some joints. I mean, he's not the traditional hip hop artist, but he's a hip hop artist. Did very well. He does very well on Timberland beats. He has a certain style. You know what I'm saying? He has a certain style. So, and there's a lot of artists that I know nothing about that are dope.
Yeah, I agree. One of my favorite artists from North Carolina is Kevin Kazi. You know him?
Nah, I don't.
He was amazing. I think he's now a news anchor down there.
Oh,
Kevin Kazi made this album Soul Dojo with Ninth Wonder. Kevin Kazi is my guy.
Okay.
I got 4 more questions before we fade out of here. Hip hop is about representation, and it's also about the heart and soul. After seeing breakdancing in the Olympics, how did you feel seeing Ray Gun represent Australia and ultimately destroy the world's appreciation for hip hop with her kangaroo hop and her Scooby Doo scared dance?
I don't even know how I feel about it, man. I don't want to say I don't care, but it didn't really affect me, man, because I had no expectations.
Okay.
If I would have had expectations, I would have been in my feelings. I had no expectations. I didn't hear nobody from the Rocksteady crew talking about it. I didn't hear none of the great historical breakdancer crews that are still active say anything about it. So I didn't expect anything, man. I mean, first of all, I don't know why we always expect other people to represent our culture the right way.
Facts.
Stop expecting people to give you, it's like every year, the Forbes countdown comes back out for the top rappers, right? I post it on my Facebook page every year because I love seeing people argue in the threads. Billboard as well, Rolling Stone. Everybody wants to argue about these lists. And I'm like, what do you expect from these publications?
They weren't there.
They don't represent us. And anything that does represent us, we want to argue and downplay it. we're not gonna support nothing.
But you know what bothers me about the whole thing, respectfully? I'm gonna give you two things that bother me, maybe three if I feel up to it. Number one, she wrote a paper about hip hop culture and how she says as long as you're a participant, you're hip hop. Not
Hmm?
understanding that it's a lifestyle. You're born into it. It's not something that you just assimilate into.
No, I
So
don't like.
her writing that academic paper about assimilating into hip hop to be appreciated and accepted led to that bullshit. That's what bothered me about it. That's for number one. Number two, shout out to everybody who did the Olympics thing because hip hop turned 50 and the Olympics wanted money, in my opinion. So they did it only for 1 year and it will not be breakdancing in the Olympics again.
I did see that. I did see that.
That's number two. And number three, which I said if I say it, maybe if I felt good about it, the representation of us as black men in the Olympics was very poor. And there's break dancers all over the world that look like us.
Yeah,
Shout out
that's
to all the nations that took it and do great with it. But let's not forget you have great dancers in this country, just like we have great actors who don't get jobs because they're not British. It's like
yo,
we have all these, huh?
that's crazy. Every time there's a young black actor, and I be like, "Yo, son, nice." Then I see the behind the scenes, and he's like, "Hi, mate." And I'm like, "Whoa."
Exactly. And it seems like even though the culture is ours, we're not controlling it.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
have a serious problem with that. We're gonna move forward though. We're not gonna stay on this topic too long because he has to go and I have things to do. And y'all have to hit the like button, comment, and share, and subscribe to Heritage Hip Hop. And make sure you follow this gentleman at Tre-Dot Music, Tredot Music on Instagram. I'll put it out there so you know. Here's the next question. My next question goes around this. And this is from your experience and your knowledge. What is the most important instrument in hip hop?
The drum,
Why?
just the beat of the drum is addictive, man. I mean, that's the foundation of the rhythm. Like a lot of beats now, I don't even think they got drums in them. I mean, there's probably
Yeah.
some drums on the layer, but the drums aren't the dominant force. And that was really the beginning of hip hop. The drums were always the dominant force. You know, that's the attraction. You know,
I'm I'm
that's
I'm I'm gonna say something. I want you to think about this. You know T Money from UMTV Raps.
yeah.
I interviewed him and he said the most important instrument in hip hop is the cell phone,
The cell phone.
and that really made me think about the evolution of the culture. That some people will look at it from the beat machine, and some people will look at it from the instrument actually that you can record and tell your story from through movies and pictures, so that no one can decide your past for you. Very profound. It was very interesting. And that's a question I asked because I like to see where people's minds are. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah,
thank you for your answer.
he thought on that. I wasn't going no further than the beat. He really thought into the whole culture. That was dope.
Yeah, that was amazing. And my throwaway question is, how do you like being on Heritage Hip Hop? And would you enlighten people to the platform? Would you like them to be on it? What do you say?
No, it was a dope interview, man. You know, I do quite a bit of interviews because when you're at this level as an artist, you got to do as many interviews as possible. Some of them are very, very enjoyable. Some of them can be flat. I've had some pretty good ones. It's pretty solid. It's dope to be able to have a conversation more so than be interviewed. You know what I'm saying? And you do a good job of that. With me, you did a good job of that. So I don't know about the next guy. I mean, I guess it's if I'm playing ball, you know what I mean? I throw you I throw the assist. You still got to make the basket for me to get the assist. So if you can't make a layup, we ain't doing too good. So
Yeah, if you don't make good music, we ain't doing too good. That's just
that's
what it is.
any artist though. When you do interviews with any show, regardless if it's 10 listeners or 10,000 listeners, man, give good answers. Take the time to answer people, you know, clearly and eloquently, man, because that's part of your brand, bro. That's part of your brand. So
Facts. And we come to the final question of the interview. I'd like to thank you for joining us. Shout out to MJ's Hip Hop Connects as well. MJ, I love you, MJ. You have no idea.
MJ
And
is dope.
all the time. And I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Whether you're watching this now or you're watching it later, thank you. Because your eyes and your comments and you hitting the like button, hitting the algorithm for this means a lot. Follow Tre-Dot Music on Instagram. Follow Heritage Hip Hop on all streaming platforms, all social media. For more interviews, we have an award show, Heritage Hip Hop Awards, August 31st. We have Truth Behind Beats, which celebrates producers. Truth Behind Bars, which celebrates people that rhyme. Interviews, we have the Mike Council show, which talks about issues that affect the hip hop culture. Our last show was Is Hip Hop Anti-Black from the Malcolm Jamal Warner podcast. We had a conversation about that, and we have new episodes coming. But the final question of this interview, Mr. Tre-Dot, is this. 500 years from now, and when we go to the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, somebody's going to go to a wall and push a red button, and your picture or your hologram's going to come out the wall. And they're going to hear songs like Only You and Love Story and Culture, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, etc. And you're going to inspire people 500 years from now. So the most important question of the first interview I want to ask you is, what is the legacy you leave behind that made the world better because you made hip-hop music?
I overcame, addiction and things of that nature, addiction and depression. And then I got to a point where I can communicate how I overcame those addictions and depression. And I was able to, touch souls that can touch other souls. And we can break generational curses of not being able to communicate with each other when we have our ups and downs. We got to be able to uplift and inspire each other. And I want to be the representation of that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, before you ever doubt yourself, just remember, the goal of life is not to live comfortably, it's to make yourself uncomfortable to be comfortable. So until you push yourself, you'll never know how great you can be. God never made your light to hide. He made your light to shine. So go through the things. Pain is softness and weakness leaving the body. And victory is overcoming those things, standing back up whenever you got knocked down. So with that being said, Tre-Dot, thank you for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This is Karev at Heritage Hip Hop saying peace. And we out.
Real hip hop. Real hip hop. We here. Real hip hop. For real. Real hip hop.